folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris once again. Goeiedag, Zuid-Afrika. Otsilijang, Botswana. Geht's hier essentlich. Welcome, folks. Herzlich willkommen bei uns hier auf Chris Wyatt Africa. Bienvenue. Nous sommes très heureux que vous êtes là. Welcome to Chris Wyatt Africa, folks, on a lekker Freitag. It is Friday, the 7th of May, 2021. And it is time for Indaba African news of the day. Let's get started with the headlines right off the bat. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is shocked at the fictitious suspension he received from suspended Secretary General Ace Magashule. Toshan Pandey's trial in the 2010 FIFA World Cup scandal, in which reported 60 million rand was swindled from the police over police accommodations, is underway with 8 co-defendants. Once again, a papering over of corruption in South Africa as they go after what are relatively small fry and not the major actors here. No more bailouts for South African Airways, as it awaits for a foolish white knight or savior to rescue it, looking for a partner to team up with the disastrous airline. The government says no more bailouts. We've seen this movie before, and it wasn't a top seller. Heavy rains throughout the Western Cape, especially in the Overberg region, have caused severe flooding. Drastic scenes all over, massive amounts of water hitting the ground, putting homes in jeopardy, and also making it dangerous to transit across many roads in the Overberg region. Yanni de Villiers is to step down after 10 years at the helm of Grain South Africa, and is from his role as CEO. And Alan Wynne-Jones is the captain of the British and Irish Lions tour for this season, coming to South Africa. But who missed out on selection? Some pretty big names didn't make the British and Irish Lions, which might surprise you. We'll talk more about that shortly. In Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF has fudged the constitution, passing legislation that accrues yet more power to the president, something that first started the farm invasions back in 2000, after Mugabe lost a referendum, which essentially gave him dictatorial powers without any consent of the parliament. They've continually tried to make an effort, but he lost that referendum in public, and then he went after the Movement for Democratic Change and the commercial farmers who backed it and destroyed Zimbabwe. Such a shame. But that's what tyrants do. And now they're just trying to give more power to the crocodile, Emerson Mnangagwa. The United States government donates pandemic response medical equipment to the Orongo region of Namibia. And Air Senegal will begin service to Dulles International Airport through JFK in New York. In the Indian Ocean, former Maldives president survives an assassination attempt. Explosion outside his home. An Africa-focused oil company, Tullo Oil, the Irish company, issues a $1.8 billion bond as part of its comeback. Niger State and Nigeria, over 100 people kidnapped and many others killed. And speaking of Nigeria, former President Goodluck Jonathan is planning a political comeback. What are the obstacles? Ghana's music continues to make waves with Afro beats. And the Mars Ingenuity helicopter will have a new airbase, a new location on Mars, happening very soon. The next flight is today, and it's supposed to take place in about 3 hours. If, in fact, we get that data, I will do a video or a live stream, whichever is appropriate, just to keep you all updated on that. And finally, China's reckless, irresponsible, juvenile, idiotic, moronic, have I explained it well enough? Decision to launch a rocket into space without sufficient resources to guide the rocket back for a controlled landing is going to re-enter. The Long March 5 Bravo, which put part of the Chinese space station up last week, is expected to deteriorate from orbit this weekend and hit the Earth. It is a massive piece of garbage. Thank you, China and the People's Republic. That's what communism gets you, folks. Reckless behavior. You should see their environment in China. And those are the headlines, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get to the stories here that we're going to talk about today, just to see what's happening around Africa and around the world. So let me start off here very quickly with Cyril Ramaphosa is shocked. He's absolutely shocked. Can you imagine? Ace Magashule suspended him. Ramaphosa tells party caucus he was shocked by Magashule's suspension of him. He's briefed the ANC's parliamentary caucus on the suspension letter received from suspended party secretary Ace Magashule. The two caucus members have told the Mail and Guardian that Ramaphosa called an urgent meeting on Thursday. He was shocked by the letter, but he said it has no standing in the ANC, and other NEC members also reflected the letter would be discussed over the weekend at the National Executive Committee meeting. Another ANC member of Parliament said Ramaphosa added that Magashule had never raised the matter at the National Working Committee. Of course he didn't. Of course he didn't. This is simply juvenile reaction by a corrupt compromised cadre. I'm sorry, I know there are hundreds, if not thousands of those within the ranks of the African National Congress. So let me be specific. Ace Magashule, he's the one charged with fraud on a 255 million rand asbestos tender. And that's just one of the many things, charged with racketeering, money laundering, and corruption. And refusing to step down after getting the National Working Committee's directions, he waited over 30 days. Now he's been suspended. And this is just a juvenile child striking back at the president. While I'm not a major fan of Cyril Ramaphosa, and he has more faults than he has attributes that are good, he's not suspended. That's not even legitimate. Magashule was suspended. It's childish behavior. Well, corruption is endless in South Africa, and people are seldom prosecuted. Yet here's a case from a decade ago, or if we're generous, 9 years ago, because 2012, they scammed through 2012, apparently. But this is the case of Toshan Pandey and his 8 co-conspirators, according to the government. They appeared in court. Very distressed. Image of them there in court. In control and close to tears, a stunning contrast as Toshan Pandey's co-accused family appear for World Cup graft trial. What we're talking, notice that these aren't black South Africans. They'll try the whites, they'll try the Indians, they'll try the coloreds. You don't see many black South Africans making their way here for the corruption they're involved in. No BEE discussion here. Arvenda Pandey, the 69-year-old mother of the criminally charged Umhlanga businessman Toshan Pandey, looked frail as she made her first appearance in the Durban Magistrates Court on graft charges relating to the 60 million 2010 Soccer World Cup police accommodation scandal. The accused number 5's head was draped in a light scarf coiled in her neck over a loose-fitting blouse, but even that could not disguise her rapid breathing as she tried unsuccessfully, almost coyly, to avert the eyes of the media. Accused number 7, Savish Maharaj Ishwakamur, stood straight as a pin, arms crossed on his chest between Pravasha and his own wife, 35-year-old Kajal Ishwakamur, sister to Toshan. Well, if it's corruption, it looks like it was a family business, folks. This is related to the corrupt 2010 FIFA World Cup. So my question is this: where are the charges against Danny Jordan, the organizer of the 2010 FIFA World Cup, which we know, based on charges against Sepp Blatter and a host of other FIFA officials by the United States, by the Swiss, by many people, that clearly bribes were paid to South Africa, or South Africa paid bribes to get the FIFA World Cup. Where are the charges against Danny Jordan? That's my question. Instead of becoming the mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay a few years ago, he should have become the mayor of a cell block. Interesting enough, at least according to foreign authorities who accuse him of fraud. But the small fry, although 60 million rand is not small fry, these are relatively small fry. And notice that they're not black. They're brown South Africans. No more bailouts for South African Airways. I'm not teasing you. I'm not kidding. Honestly, no more bailouts. No more. After 70, 80, 90 billion rand of bailouts or more, who knows what the total figure is now. They've disguised it over the past 15 years. No more bailouts for South African Airways. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Good old Pravin Gordhan, the Minister of Public Enterprises and Open Graft, has announced there will be no more bailouts for the inept, corrupt, inefficient, bankrupt. Well, they claim that they're solvent now, but one has to scratch your head about that, because they just had to put aside 819 million additional rand to save Mango, the SAA subsidiary. So if SAA was solvent, they should be able to manage the losses at Mango, but they can't. There will be no more bailouts for SAA, so a soon-to-be-announced strategic equity partner will help the state airline get back its wings. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. According to a 2020 Treasury document, SAA has incurred net losses of more than 32 billion since 2008. Mail and Guardian's calculations that with the 10.5 billion allocated last year, the airline received more than 60 billion in government guarantees. It's more than that, folks. It's more than that. They're just going back to 2008. This airline got money before 2008. In March, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan told Parliament that several potential buyers indicate interest. Yes, but they don't want the labor contracts. They don't want the debt. You got to get rid of that. Earlier this week, the department said in a statement the government was in final stage negotiation with preferred partner and the purchase and sale agreement should be concluded soon. Yes, the business rescue cost taxpayers $243 million. That's just sorting out the bankruptcy. According to figures from the department, SA was put under administration in December 2019, but the business rescue plan was only approved by creditors 6 months later and only came out of bankruptcy on the 1st of May. And I question whether they're actually out of bankruptcy. Are they flying? Let's see them fly. The Western Cape, Southern Cape has been hit by massive storms, which we informed you of on Indaba Africa News just before the storms approached. They have led to severe flooding throughout the region as the region grapples with the heavy rainfall. Intense cold front system made landfall in the southern Cape on Wednesday the 5th, causing damage and disruption in the Overberg region. You can see road washed out there. Although the heavy downpours accompanying intense cold front system made landfall in the southern Cape on Wednesday, and heavy downpours definitely caused damage in these areas in terms of lands were washed away. That's unfortunate. Rescue efforts continue in the Western Cape after this winter storm strikes. You can see this image here of severe flooding in the Riviera Zonderend. Vehicles washed away and damaged to property as the Western Cape experienced its first severe winter storm. Well, you don't want to be near low-lying areas, folks. Rescue efforts continue in the Western Cape, where heavy rainfall has caused severe flooding and destruction in the province's first severe winter storm. By Friday morning, hundreds of people have been evacuated, 2 people confirmed dead, and 2 reported missing after the storm struck on Wednesday. The Overberg region, in particular Swellendam, Bredasdorp, Stoysbrei, Riverzonden, and surrounding areas have been most affected. Large parts remain flooded. Folks, one piece of advice, I've seen far too many people try this. If you come up across a flooded road, it's not a good idea to try to cross it. You don't know the currents. You don't know what's going to happen, and these surges can happen pretty quickly. So turn around and go back. Don't try to force your way through a space that you really don't know about. So be careful out there. It's dangerous. Grain SA CEO Yanni de Villiers has decided to call it a day after a decade as the CEO of Grain SA. He's hanging up his cleats. Yanni de Villiers should step down as Grain South Africa's CEO. After serving as CEO of Grain South Africa for a decade, Yanni de Villiers announced that he is stepping down and will be leaving the commodity organization on the 31st of August. He joined Grain SA on the 1st of March 2011 after a career of 24 years at the South African Chamber of Milling. The decision to move from the grain procurement industry to the grain production side of the industry followed a meeting of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Rome back in 2007. The objective of the meeting was to find a means of doubling food production at the time, and it was then that he decided to join the production side. He added that when he started out, he faced a number of challenges in gaining the trust of South Africa's grain producers. One of the biggest challenges was moving the Grain SA head office from Bothaville to Pretoria. It was also an uphill battle to change the organization's culture of doing business from a confrontational style to one of cooperation and negotiation. Well, cooperation and negotiation are always preferable to confrontation. So well done, Yanni de Villiers. Congratulations on your tenure at Grain SA, and fair skies and smooth sailing going forward. Well, the British and Irish Lions tour is coming to South Africa. Whether there'll be any spectators in the stands remains an open question. At this point, who knows? But we do know that it's coming. And the team captain for the British and Irish Lions is once again Alan Wynne-Jones from Wales. Yes, but there are some rather prominent names that have been left off. There's a lovely photo there of Alan Wynne-Jones carrying that Lion squad announcement. It's a marker for Coach Niebenhart. Now remember that the Springboks have not played a single game in over 500 days, ladies and gentlemen, since winning the Rugby World Cup in Japan. When the Springboks famously won the Rugby World Cup 2019, beating England 32-12 in the final in Yokohama, no one knew that more than 500 days later, they'd still be waiting for their first outing as world champions. Now, the Springboks apparently are set to play an undetermined date, a test match against the USA Eagles, Gary Gould's Eagles, hopefully here in the United States, a chance to raise some money for the Springbok Rugby Union, or the South African Rugby Union, and the USA Rugby, perhaps. But if that game is here, I don't care where it's at, I'm there. If I have to fly, I have to drive, I will be at that game. So waiting to find out when that's going to take place. It looks like that'll be the Springboks' only tune-up before the British and Irish Lions. That does not bode well, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, some Springbok players have been playing abroad, and some have been playing Super Rugby and also a bit of Currie Cup, which just restarted. But it's not quite the same without spectators in the stands, folks. You don't get the same feel. And so we'll see what happens, but it's been a long time since the Springboks have been on the pitch. Speaking of those left out of the mix, this is from the Rugby Pass. 15 huge omissions. I'm not going to cover all 15, but I am going to talk about Johnny Sexton. Johnny Sexton is not on the squad. The 35-year-old Irish fly half is not there. Very disappointing. This is his last chance to make the British and Irish Lions tour, so that's it for his career. Jonathan Davies is also not there. And Billy Vunipola. Wow, that's a bit of a shocker. Billy Vunipola is a big-time name. Sean Healy and Johnny May as well. These are some big names not making it, folks. Some big names not making it to the tournament. Johnny Gray, Sam Underhill. Big surprises. And in Zimbabwe, the government is once again accruing power to the chief executive. Critics are accusing Zimbabwe's ruling party of seeking to undermine the judiciary after lawmakers late Tuesday approved constitutional amendments so the president can handpick top judges. The amendments, which await President Mnangagwa's signature to become law, allow him to choose judges for the constitutional, supreme, and high courts without the approval of legislatures. Longtime ruler Robert Mugabe had similar powers for years until they were stripped away in the constitution that was passed in 2013. Yeah, well, you see that? You see that. Zimbabwe independence had an independent judiciary, overwhelmingly of white judges. Over time, it became a mix of white and black judges in Zimbabwe. But since the mid-1990s, and certainly by the year 2000, judges have been cowed, threatened, assaulted, intimidated, and many retired and were replaced by hacks who are not genuine judges, simply party functionaries who do the bidding of ZANU-PF, the kleptocracy that tyrannizes, is that a word? Tyrannizes Zimbabwe. In Namibia, the United States government has donated medical equipment for the pandemic. The U.S. government donates more COVID-19 equipment. The United States government recently donated equipment to the Orongo Health Director to support the national response to the pandemic. Through its embassy, the U.S. donated 70 blood pressure machines, 41 patient monitors to strengthen the Ministry of Health's ability to provide quality patient care. The equipment was valued at just over 462,000 Namibian dollars, handed over back in February, but just being announced now. And Air Senegal will be using an A330neo, one of its newest planes, to serve Dulles via New York's JFK. It's official. Air Senegal will be serving the United States. It has put Dakar on both New York's JFK and Washington Dulles on sale. With one-stop service starting September 2nd, it'll use the 290-seat A330-900, and it's hoping for a 70% seat load factor in the first year. Their new service will operate on Thursdays and Sundays and will have the following schedule. There you go. The schedule is they leave from Dakar at 1:30 in the morning, arriving JFK 6, leaving 8:30, arriving Dulles at 10. And then leaving Dulles at 8:25 in the evening, arriving JFK at 9:55, leaving at 11:55, arriving Dakar at 12:25 the next day. They're going to compete directly with Delta, which also has a JFK-Dakar route. Interesting development here. This is good news for those who wish to travel to Africa. Yet another route. If you at least your destination is Senegal, whereas the Delta flight continues on throughout Africa, the Senegal flight will terminate there. The former Maldives president and current Speaker of the Parliament survived an assassination attempt overnight. Speaker of Parliament in Maldives, former President Mohamed Nasheed, was being treated for shrapnel wounds after a blast outside his family home on Thursday, a spokesman for his governing Maldivian Democratic Party said. Two close family members who were asked not to be identified due to the sensitivity situation told Reuters that Nasheed was talking and responsive before being treated under anesthesia at the hospital. Wow. That's a pretty disturbing sort of situation right there. A former president assassination attempt, and what's the motivation? We have no idea what it's all about. Is it simply political or is it terror? We don't know. Maldives is a small collection of islands located in the Indian Ocean, and it's one of the places that we've frequently been told is in jeopardy from climate change and rising sea levels because it's barely above the surface of the ocean. So the Maldives, an assassination attempt. And Irish oil explorer, we should call him explorer, they don't produce a whole lot, Tullo Oil, which famously pulled out of the Uganda Lake Albert Basin project after spending a fortune there and discovering oil, has now issued a bond for $1.8 billion, which will allow them to reorganize, that's been taking place, and see where they go from here. Africa-focused Tullo Oil emerges from overhaul with a $1.8 billion bond. It's launched to help it manage a $2.4 billion debt. It drew more interest from investors than expected. And after the Africa-focused producers financial oil, the chief executive said. So there you go. So that's some good news for Tullo Oil. It's back in the game, apparently. And this report, don't worry, if you're reading it and you're having trouble reading it, it's okay because it's not in English, it's in Pidgin. Niger State attack, gunmen kill, kidnap over 100 people for central Nigeria. Yep. Some people, where they stay, some communities for Niger State, for central Nigeria. Don't tell BBC, say gunmen attack the towns on Wednesday, kill plenty people, and kidnap over 100. Let me help translate that into modern standard English for you folks. In Niger State, in Nigeria, gunmen attacked and killed many people and kidnapped over 100 people on Wednesday. More violence in Nigeria. And former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan is considering tossing his hat back in the ring in the political arena. He's weighing comeback among legal hurdles. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is close to making a final decision on whether to contest in the presidential election of 2023. This comes after several months of political calculations. He was defeated in the 2015 election, which saw Muhammadu Buhari emerge president. This is the first time in the nation's turbulent political history that a sitting president lost an election. But Jonathan's case is also peculiar because he conceded defeat even before the final result of the election was announced, a rarity, which is known for many of its sit-tight leaders. Well, what we call sit-tight is the big man complex. But Goodluck Jonathan clearly didn't have the big man complex. He stepped aside when it was his turn to step aside. And Ghana's music continues to make a splash. The Afrobeats from Ghana is back on the international scene. In the music scene, long ruled by giant neighbor Nigeria, Afrobeats from Ghana are now finding favor not only in across clubs, but in the thriving international market beyond West Africa. Not only is Afrobeats hyper popular here in Ghana, it's now gaining real recognition on the international stage, says Snowda Boy in his Accra recording studio, which is lined with international accolades. Western audiences are discovering the Afrobeat scene in 2016 thanks to the hit One Dance featuring Canadian superstar Drake and Nigerian Wizkid. Well, this story about Nigeria's music, or not Nigeria's music, Kenya's, this story about Ghana's music is something I've talked about for over 20 years. When I first started going to Ghana over 20 years ago, the music scene was amazing, absolutely amazing in Accra. Incredible music being produced. Unfortunately, it was all pirated. Artists would perform at a club, someone would record it, and they'd sell CDs, and then the artist made no money off of it. So it never really went anywhere. As I said, intellectual property and copyrights need to be respected in order for these artists to make it. Now, with the music being exposed to some folks in the West with Drake's single, with Wizkid, that made a big difference, and people became more familiar with what is truly incredible music coming out of Ghana. So we'll see what happens going forward, but that's some good news. Ghana is on the scene. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter, the first aircraft to fly on a foreign body, on top of a foreign body. Mars Ingenuity helicopter is set to fly again today. I believe it's its 5th flight. But in the meantime, it's going to go from a new location. It will head from New Airfield today on the 5th flight. It will be its first one-way jaunt, so it's not coming back. Scheduled to make its 5th Martian flight, May 7th, a jaunt that will be unlike anything the 4-pound chopper has attempted so far. If all goes according to plan, Ingenuity will lift off at 3:26 Eastern Daylight Time, climb to an altitude of 16 feet or 5 meters, and then head south for 423 feet, 129 meters, following the same path it took a week ago on an 87-second flight. But instead of turning around and heading back, we'll actually climb to a new height record of 33 feet, where we will take some color and images and black and white images of the area. Wow. After a total flight time of 110 seconds, it will land, completing its first one-way trip. When it touches down its new location, we will embark on a new demonstration phase, one where we'll exhibit what this new technology can do to assist other missions down the road. Fascinating developments with the Mars Ingenuity helicopter, folks. And finally, in today's story, I want to talk about the irresponsible behavior of the Chinese Communist Party and what it's been doing with launching debris into space and jeopardizing lives here on the planet. The Chinese Long March 5 Bravo rocket, which lifted part of the Chinese space station last week into orbit, was returning Earth and has fallen into now a decaying orbit. It is expected to make landfall, or at least enter the atmosphere, this weekend. No one knows whether it'll break up in the air, but it's likely that large pieces of the space station will land on the Earth. Fortunately, with 70% of the Earth's surface being ocean, we may be okay, but there are no guarantees of that. Debris from a Chinese rocket expected to fall back to Earth in an uncontrolled re-entry this weekend. The main segment of the Long March 5 Bravo vehicle was used to launch the first module of China's new space station last month. At 18 tons, it's one of the largest items in decades to have an undirected dive into the atmosphere. The U.S. says they're watching it, but had no plans to shoot it down. Shoot it down. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says we're hopeful it will land in one place where it won't harm anyone. Hopefully in the ocean or someplace like that. Well, yeah, I don't need the Defense Secretary to make that statement. I think I just made it a moment ago. Well, folks, that is the news for today, the 7th of May 2021 here on Indaba Africa News of the Day. I want to thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you here next time on Indaba Africa News of the Day. Have a safe and pleasant day and a wonderful weekend. And be careful out there.